obtuse since I ran out of room on my first video. Somebody needs to clean out their phone. Okay, welcome to this video. If you haven't gone back and watched the first video, I highly recommend it because I'm just going to keep going into flow. Thanks for tuning in. So I was essentially saying that I was talking about the Energizer Bunny and the symbolism behind that. And, you know, that whole thing of monkey see, monkey do. But that isn't the only message in this. So I'm just going to keep going in flow. And a little light language as well. When I speak light language and then I go into English, I speak different forms of languages that are in my DNA that I hold as a memory in my cellular knowingness. And I tune into the multidimensionality that is me. That's all that it is. They hold a different, the letters and that I speak in a form, aka language, that hold together a certain pattern or frequency that then transmits as I speak it through my vocal column, my vocal cords. It makes a connection point and it establishes a connection point in the grid system or the patterns that we are all connecting into as a multidimensional being. And it changes the frequency in which I am transmitting these messages from one perspective. But it's also just for me to help shift my own frequency, since the English language, while has very beautiful qualities to it, doesn't always hold the exact vibrational match or pattern or consistency with the messages that I am sharing, if that makes sense. So I dip in and out a lot. Yes, this can be challenging when I'm in everyday life, just talking with regular people just like myself that maybe haven't activated this particular way of communicating. It kind of is floating around in the back of my head a lot. You guys, I'm guided to share because some people are actually turning this on and they're connecting to the light language. When I first started speaking it, that's all that wanted to come out. It felt like English was my second language. So obviously I don't go through the grocery store talking to everyone, speaking with everyone in that way. And that wouldn't necessarily be useful for everyone too, by the way. So I wanted to share that. So for some people, it's not something that is necessarily something that will activate or stimulate them. That's not part of their experience that they choose to connect with, and that's okay too. For there is a language that we are utilizing in this reality that is necessary to use in order to convey our, I'm hearing, landlocked messages. So as we open to these, going back into the amplification, as we move back into this deeper amplification, we allow ourselves to open to a different level of consciousness. We allow ourselves to recognize different forms of reality that are interlayered and interwoven with the same reality that we are actually co-creating now in this experience called life. So when I say that, I see a spider web and I see all of these filaments and fibers of interwoven connections connected to old matrices, and connected to the new one. And then I see synapses going off that light them up, that then travel in a farther out, perhaps a longer wave, if you want to look at it that way, a longer bandwidth. This can feel noisier in our bodies, and it can feel, and I was talking about reflection, and it looks noisier outside of us too. So be aware that when these high expansive fields are amplified, it means there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot going on internally. So I'm being guided to talk about the electrification magnification. We are electrical beings, right? Our body fires, if you will, PHIREs, and has an internal combustion chamber, and everything works together in this frequency of resonance and sound and spins, electrical toroidal fields and spins. And again, I always bring up Dan Winter. Dan Winters, if you haven't watched him, he can help activate a certain knowingness within us by his information that he shares. So some of us are being called to really go deeper and look within into these layers. And what just popped in again is drink a lot of water right now. So the water helps to, there's a lot going on with water right now that I haven't really sat down and figured out. But what I'm hearing, figured eight. So our body is full of water. And I just read something, it might have been Robert Ward Grant, another great person to help activate and learn from. But anyways, the quote was that water, our DNA is also water, has a lot of water. Now, of course, this is just information, whether it's, I'm just saying it helps for us to visualize. Think about how water is in the body. Think about all of the water on the earth. Think about how it carries. It's a carrier of conductivity. So if we are heightening this, our feelings, our everything is amplified. It's really important to hydrate. And as I say that, I'm seeing that as a play on words. And I'm not talking about the etymology of the word. High, going up, drate. And then I see high, doctor, eight, the eight, infinite. It helps us to keep ourselves stable and balanced in these amplified moments of conductivity. Sleep is also important. So there requires a physical balance in order to stabilize the other, that everything's connected. So I'm just going to keep going here. I'm hearing code of conduct. So coat of many colors. So we're bringing this energy into us. Our coat of many colors for me is the light body, but also our code of conduct. So it's code of conduct, code of conductivity. So all of this is a play on words, but how are we conducting ourselves? How are we orchestrating our actions, right? How are we communicating with our bodies? And this is a direct reflection of how we're communicating with everything, because everything is connected. So I'm just being called to remind everybody that, just if I can just pause for a moment here. I'm just being called to remind everybody that as within, so without, as above, so below. So these changes are not just happening for our bodies and for us, they're happening, so I have to move again. Musical parking spaces. And so as we light up our own networks, recognize that we are lighting up many networks, for we are working together in this net, if you will, in this net worth, in this net frequency combination. And as we combine our frequencies, as we come together and we allow this to transmit out certain attributes, play on words. I'm seeing tri as a 3, right? This marriage. As we allow ourselves to transmit, we are sending out a signal. What signals are we sending out, and what do they signify? PHI. Golden. Is it the golden rule? How and what are we co-creating, and what are we co-creating with? What we are sending out is drawing more of that to us from one perspective. And it is also creating an abundance. Okay, I'm being shown in my head of more of that. So I'm being shown a credit card. And you know when you have a credit card and you get like triple bonus points? That's kind of what I'm being shown. That's the phase that we're in right now. We're in this, somehow we're tripling our conductivity. So we're just really being called to be responsible with what we're thinking about. And you guys, I'm going to just share from a very human perspective. That for me has been very challenging, because for me what's been coming up are a lot of my own issues that I'm working through, or that when I say issues, I'm hearing again, issued the credit card. What I've issued myself. I've given myself these issues. Like I'm the only one that sees this stuff this way. All these insecurities, right? People think I'm weird. What's going to happen in 6 months with this? Why am I feeling that? Like all of these like thoughts. Judgment, self-doubt, shame, all that stuff that we carry with us, right? That we have then credited part that's we've put on a credit card, and we're paying it back. So now we have the opportunity to clean that credit card off. And I'm being shown, and triple our bonus points, but not adding more to our credit. There is no credit at this point. We're just doing it real time. So we're not putting it onto something that we then have to pay back later, and I'm being shared like karma. That's not how it works anymore from one perspective. It's instant karma. It's instant credit. It's like, okay, you want to think that? Here you go. So, and that ripple effect is massive. But there's enough of us from one perspective that are counterbalancing the credit card, play on words, carriers. So there are some people that are still adding to the old ideology, the old symbolism. They're still, referring back to the first video, they're still that Energizer bunny, going in their circles until the battery runs out. And what I'm being shown is collectively, we cannot continue to charge up this debt. And boy, this is a collective message, right? What else am I referring to in collectively? So that's a symbol of where we're at as a collective of energy. So rather than keeping adding up to this false value system and encouraging that type of action, we're being called to action and taking responsibility in our own actions. And this is always a message that's coming back. But right now we're in triple bonus points, or double jeopardy. Not double jeopardy, but jeopardy when they get the double bonus thing. It's like your daily double. And what I'm hearing is, or double down. Like we're getting an opportunity to either split and add to both of those realities, or unify and make that even stronger. Does that make sense? That's kind of what I'm seeing. This ripples out into, I'm hearing space, or our idea of space. What I'm seeing is a signal that's going out into the universe, and it's telling, this is so many different layers, but I'll come back to that later. That layer later. Oh, I'm hearing later gator. So the alligator is a reference to our ancestors. Okay, so I guess I need to talk about this now. This ripples out when they sent out that signal in space many years ago, that golden record, and we are here on Earth. We're going to send this signal out. What signal are we sending out? Contact. Remember the movie Contact? It's always a good one. But I'm seeing this ripples back into all of space, time. So this goes, and I've talked about this before, backwards as well. And it's difficult to explain how I see that, but essentially that ripple is going backwards to our ancestors.